Well, hello everybody. It's Bill with Take the Bill, where we take the Bill of Rights to our chests and hold it dear to our hearts. How you all doing today? This is a fine Sunday to be alive. Ain't that true, patriots? Big shout out to all my patriots and my veterans out there. I hope this gets promoted a little bit more. I'm working really hard on getting these things out. Today I was looking through X and I found something pretty interesting that you guys might want to see. Um, Take me a second here. Oh, my computer likes to play around with me. So there we go. So let me just go ahead and fade on over to the other side. There we are. And here we go. I'm going to go ahead and play this. I got to put it back a little bit. Okay. It says here, the post is from Robert, and it says, and here it is, bank records, voter registration records, and a whistleblower confirms beyond the shadow of a doubt Adam Schiff is guilty of perjury, voter fraud, and mortgage fraud, violating both state and federal laws. In 2001, he sells his condo in Burbank, California, and buys a place in Maryland. Um, so on the box of his mortgage application in Maryland, he checks that he will be, this will be my principal residence. But then he buys the condo in Burbank, and then he checks the box that will be my principal residence in Burbank. The good news is the statute of limitation begins at the date of discovery. A complaint was officially filed earlier this year, meaning the Trump DOJ can arrest, charge, indict, and prosecute and incarcerate the fraud for the crimes of Adam Schiff for the crimes of perjury, voter fraud, and bank fraud. Federal Bureau of Prisons, FO, FBOP. Oh my goodness. This was sent to Pam Bondi, the official FBOP in Channel Island. So let's go ahead and get this started. Come on. It's hanging. We're having technical difficulties here for a minute. Let's just give it a moment to load. I got a bunch of other things open here. Just show that out. Maybe it'll help it a little bit. Move this over here. So let's see. On off. Oh, it's off, of course.
Representative Adam Schiff. Veteran investigators Christine Bish and John Stubbins filed an ethics complaint last week alleging that Adam Schiff committed fraud and perjury by declaring both his homes in California and Maryland as his primary residence, thereby violating state and federal laws, so they say. Now, many lawmakers keep a place in Washington, especially if they represent a state from far away, like Schiff does. But only one of their homes can be considered their primary residence. And if you're a lawmaker, your primary residence must technically be in the district you represent. Makes sense. But if you keep two primary residences, you are able to manipulate the system, get lower mortgage rates. And this is exactly what Bish and Stubbins allege. This
Interesting.
story emerges as Schiff runs for the U.S. Senate against a backdrop where California homelessness has hit record highs and cost of living has driven Californians out. The ethics complaint lists apparent discrepancies in Schiff's voting record, where Schiff claims both homes in Maryland and California as primary residences between 2002 and 2013. The hypocrisy is glaring. Just this year, Adam Schiff's Democrats pushed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. off the ballot in New York over his debates about his various residencies. Would they dare hold these same standards up to Adam Schiff? Joining us now to discuss the exclusive details is best-selling author and investigative journalist Seamus Bruner, author of Control Oligarchs. Seamus, welcome back.
Hey, Chanel, it's great to be with you. Yeah, Adam Schiff is in a world of trouble if the legal system is fair. I know that this complaint has been submitted to multiple U.S. House agencies and to the House Judiciary, House Ethics, and House Oversight Committee. And it's true, Adam Schiff has been checking the box principal residence on multiple mortgage applications in two different states. You can't live in two places at once as your principal residence, and mortgage fraud is a serious crime.
Walk us through the timeline for this. I know that this is coming from a variety of documents that are, verifiable through public records, but walk us through the timeline here. Where do we start?
Yeah, so this all starts really around 2001, between 2001 and 2003. Adam Schiff is from California. He gets elected to Congress, and then he starts commuting, like you laid out in the intro here. He then sells his condo in Burbank, California, and buys a place in Maryland. And so on that box of his mortgage application in Maryland, he checks, this will be my principal residence. But then he buys a condo in Burbank, and then he checks the box, this will be my principal residence in Burbank. And so when he's checking these boxes in Maryland, principal residence, he's potentially committing voter fraud in California because throughout 2006, 7, 8, and 9, his voter registration documents say he's living in Burbank. And so he goes back and forth checking these boxes all the way up through a refinance in 2013 of his Maryland property, saying that this is my principal residence. And so it doesn't make sense. How could you be living in both places at once? And I'm glad you mentioned the financial benefits. It's not just the lower mortgage interest rates. You get a lower interest rate on your primary residence. It's also the lower property taxes. You get a homestead exemption. It's also, you get lower insurance rates on your primary residence. And then there's also the federal tax returns with the mortgage interest deduction. And so there's all kinds of financial benefits for doing this. It's not clear whether Adam Schiff got sloppy or greedy, possibly both, but this is a big problem. There was a conviction of a Baltimore State attorney, Marilyn Mosby is her name. She was convicted for mortgage fraud for a very similar circumstance. As you mentioned, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Democrats tried to kick him off of the ballot, or successfully did, in New York for a similar residency discrepancy. And there's a host of other people who have had this problem of declaring two primary residences in places where they're actually not living full time.
Now, I have reached out to the Schiff campaign for comment about this story. We have, and they've yet to respond as of this broadcast. What has Adam Schiff said in response to this explosive allegation?
Yeah, so I mean, this really became a public news story back in 2009 with a bunch of other Congress members who were doing this. Doris Matsui, who is from California, she was in big trouble for declaring residency both in Maryland and in California. A bunch of congressmen have gotten into this problem before. Back in 2009, Schiff was mentioned for this because he's been doing it for that long. And he said he actually admitted, oh, I made a mistake. Now, you can't make a mistake and profit financially from that mistake without consequences. But nonetheless, Nancy Pelosi was in charge of the House, back then, and she should have investigated. But of course, why would she? So that was back in 2009. He said, "quote mistake." They said it was a clerical error in 2009. But here's the thing. They said in 2009 it was a mistake and a clerical error. He refinanced the Maryland property in 2011 and in 2013, and he checked the box principal residence both of those years. And so, if it was a mistake, now we know now he refinanced the Maryland property around 2020 recently, and guess what? He checks the box second home. And so that is basically an admission that he knew he was, violating these rules. And in 2011-13, he had full knowledge of what he was doing, and he checked the box anyway.
Well, Seamus, clearly the penalties for committing this kind of perjury and fraud are not very high. If lawmakers are doing this, have done this, and seem to continue to do this, it just doesn't look like they're worried about being penalized or punished.
That's a sad thing.
Yeah, if this were Donald Trump, they would have buried him under the prison by now. But for Adam Schiff, he gets off scot-free. And so what's really interesting, actually, is going to see how this develops, because in Maryland, the penalties are extremely harsh, much harsher than in California, for committing mortgage fraud, for checking the wrong box on these loan applications. And so what would be interesting is if he says that actually this whole time, all along, Schiff has maintained that, yes, he is a full-time resident of Burbank. He is a primary resident of Burbank, California, where his district is. It looks really bad if you're trying to represent people, but that's not where you live. It's not even allowed under House rules. Also, it would be voter fraud if he was claiming that he could vote in California if he was actually a Maryland resident. But what's interesting is the Maryland penalties are much stricter than the California penalties. So if justice were to be done, Adam Schiff's best argument would be to say, actually, I have been a Maryland resident all along, because he would want to avoid the 20-year prison sentence that mortgage fraud could carry in that state.
Incredible point. And that is something I guess the other lawmakers haven't really faced. They come from states that are a little more lenient about this. But again, Democrats seem to get away with this kind of stuff. I know you cover corruption and political corruption on both sides of the aisle, but inordinately, Democrats get away with these kinds of games, shenanigans, and mistakes way more than Republicans do. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Well, here's the thing, Chanel. These could be federal crimes. And so if there is a change in the administration, I suspect a President Harris would look the other way on her good friend from California, Adam Schiff. But a Trump presidency, a Trump DOJ, could prosecute these crimes. Now, Adam Schiff will likely argue that the statute of limitations has run out on some of these things. It was quite a while ago. However, because the statute of limitations actually only kicks in for certain crimes once upon the date of discovery, which is very recently, actually. Most people did not know about this until very, very recently. This complaint filed by Christine Bish was not filed until this year. And so,
Sure.
some of these details, some of this evidence means that no one knew about these things until just recently. So the statute of limitations may not kick in. Federal crimes are prosecuted by the DOJ. Trump would have an opportunity to the Trump DOJ to investigate these matters.
Oh, that's an excellent point. But then didn't you say that some of these allegations had popped up a few years ago with Schiff? I guess not conclusively.
Not conclusively. There is a potential whistleblower, someone who is willing to come forward. were still talking to him, who worked in the mortgage company, who saw these things and said, "This is perjury." Said what
Mm-hmm.
Adam Schiff has done is perjury. And so, when a whistleblower can come forward and bring forth new evidence that no one else would have had access to, that would bring up the statute of limitations potentially.
Interesting. No, that's an angle I think that hasn't been pointed out before. Well, Schiff is such an interesting player, and I say that I use that word carefully, but it's hard to look at Adam Schiff with a straight face. This is a man who has for years manufactured storylines against Donald Trump just to sully the entire Trump presidency.
You
He's
hear that, people?
manufactured evidence about Russian involvement, or at least promoted documentation that was clearly not true, and with a straight face would tell the world that Trump was involved in Russian oligarchs and he was, meddled with the election. And here's Schiff himself trying to stand up and say he's a credible guy. It's a joke.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, it's there in black and white. We've got all of the documents posted on thedrilldown.com. These have been, submitted by Christine Bish to the House Investigative Committees, and it's pretty much smoking gun. I mean, he can say that he screwed up, but many other average Americans have been convicted with far less evidence for this serious crime. And so, it really upsets people when you and I have to live by all of the rules, and then someone like Adam Schiff, who is loaded off of all of his policy, he gets very rich being a congressman. We don't know how these people like Nancy
Yeah.
Pelosi, stock queen Nancy Pelosi, get so rich off of their public service. But Adam Schiff has done extremely well for himself, and for him to be taking these additional financial benefits and not repaying them, he needs to repay as a form of restitution the benefits he got. These loans were federally subsidized, federally backed loans, and so taxpayers are on the hook for such loans. And so for him to be taking advantage like this is unconscionable.
I think the key to this whole conversation will be on when that statute of limitations actually kicks in. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of debate about that, but I think that's key to this conversation. Did it kick in back when it was discussed, back when, what is discovering, right? And that'll be a realm for the lawyers to argue, I'm sure. All right, Seamus, don't go anywhere. We have to take a quick break, but you're also working on another story. You actually put out a great report recently, and it really sounds the alarm on voter rolls. Stay right here. We'll be right back.
Well, ain't that something? Thank you, Fine Point. That's incredible. I mean, what does that really mean for you guys? Um, oops. Um, we have to think about this for a second. These politicians, whether it be Nancy Pelosi or people like Adam Schiff, they're getting rich off of our tax dollars. They're misusing their office, as an appointee for the people. They're getting rich. They're breaking laws that you and I would probably be thrown into Guantanamo if it was possible. They downgrade Trump. They humiliate Trump and his family for that point, and they're still getting away with this. Now, I know that the DOJ has said that Donald Trump has his own priorities. I understand that, but I think Adam Schiff should be one of his most at the high top of the list for some of these people, and with the ongoing protests, Gaston, even here in Cheyenne, which really baffles me, we had protests. There weren't very many people there. I was going to make a video about it, but I didn't have my camera with me or my phone, which I don't when I go to church. Um, it's embarrassing. It really is. We're getting gypped off of our tax dollars, and we have to sit by and watch it. I wrote next today that I actually want um, to see arrests. I mean, that's what I voted for Trump for, to get these corrupt politicians out of the office. It would make life a lot simpler for him, if he would go after these people with indictments and make their life really miserable. On top of it, it would probably prompt uh, new elections for these posts. It would be heaven on earth if I see DOJ and FBI agents and ICE agents, for the people that are foreigner, like Omar. She has to go. She has to go. She's number one on my list. Her and Jasmine Crockett, they just have to go. The Jasmine Crockett needs to be prosecuted, and also for inciting violence. She can say what she wants in a post. It just doesn't mean a thing. She incited violence. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean it that way. Of course you did. You could see it in your face. If it was a Democratic president right now, they would probably take down Elon Musk for doing something like this, just like you said, and put him in jail with Trump forever. What should I say to these people? Yeah, I want to see Adam Schiff get burned. I want to see him be taken out of Congress forcefully, um, along with these other politicians that are corrupt. Nancy Pelosi, just go in there, tap them on the shoulder, say you have to come with us, and start getting things rolling. It would be very interesting for us. It would be very interesting for the MAGA party. I don't know if I consider myself Republican because I see a lot of Republican senators not doing their job for what they said they would stand and hold up for. So I am MAGA. I've just decided that. And any of my Republican senators out there, I doubt you'll hear it, but I hope you do. You suck if you don't follow what Trump says. He has his plan and his agenda, and if you go behind his back, you're just a rhino. You might as well just switch over to the Democratic Party and leave it at that. Give up your seat, switch to the Democratic Party, and run as a Democrat next year, because the midterms are coming. I'm looking forward to the midterms. I'm going to try to my best to do live reporting on the live shows, um, and see what happens. Okay, so, well, this is going to be the end of my video. I didn't really plan on making a video today. I was going to get some other stuff done, but I just decided to go ahead and do it now. So, people, please like, share, and subscribe. Pass the word on. Just share me. Um, and I'm doing my best. I'm getting better. I can go back and forth in between things, which makes me kind of proud. I'm getting there. I'm 55 years old. Just had my sixth anniversary to my lovely wife, Mona. And she, by chance, she got me the backdrop that I have hanging now, so, which I'm really proud of. I was a proud, I'm a proud veteran. I was a proud soldier, and I was proud to serve my country. So, to all you veterans out there, or whoever you are, please share, like, subscribe. I could use all the help I could get, because I can't kick off until, I got a certain amount of subscribers, and the more subs, the better. So, because when I start growing and getting better, I can get some people to help me with editing, and to also be blues in any of my chats or groups. It's all coming. I'm learning as I'm going, and it's working fast. And remember, Trump, he's not the king, he's the president, and he is the man. Yeah, his plans, his tariffs, Everybody else is talking about tariffs. I don't think I'm going to do anything with tariffs right just yet. But I'll be reacting on another video here shortly. And then I have to get some things going. I'll probably post my other one tomorrow, just so I have a little leeway. Tomorrow I have a lot to do. And folks, I love you. Thank you for viewing my show. I hope you made it to the end. If you did, I appreciate it. And just click the like button, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, so I would be much happy, and it doesn't hurt anybody either. Okay, so yeah, I'm learning. Where's another one? I'm learning there, guys. I'm learning. There we go. I got it. I'm getting it down with the sound and everything else. So please, love you guys. Hope to see you by the next one. Take care and rest in God's arms. God bless you all. Bye.